Welcome everybody. A very warm welcome back to World Spa and Wellness Asia Online. COVID time, so everything is online again. We unfortunately don't have the physical event in Phuket as we would hope for. My name is Andrew Jacka. I'm chairman of the Asia Pacific Spa and Wellness Coalition, and I'm very pleased to have with me today 4 representatives from 4 countries across the Asia Pacific region to discuss some regional updates on the reopening of the spa and wellness business. So with us, we have Kathy Turville from the Spa and Wellness Stakeholders of the Philippines. Hi, Kathy.
Hello, hello.
Suwadee Pachariyangkun, sorry if I say your name wrong, Kun Susie, Secretary General of the Thailand Medical and Wellness Tourism Association. So welcome, Kun Susie.
Hello, everyone.
We have Wendy Yang, who is representing the Taiwan Spa Association. I'm sure everybody knows Wendy anyway.
Ni
Hi,
hao.
Wendy.
Ni hao.
Hi. And we have Thuy Do from Wellness Vietnam. We're honored to have somebody from Vietnam today. It's great to have you here, so welcome. All right. So this is just, let's get down to business and go through it. So we've got some questions and some open discussion today for these 4 countries: Philippines, Thailand, Taiwan, and Vietnam, and how they're coping with the reopening of business in light of the global pandemic. So Kathy, if you don't mind, I'll start off with you, right?
Sure.
With just a very simple question: how reliant upon international tourism is the Philippine spa and wellness industry?
Okay. Thank goodness we are not that reliant on the international tourists, because right now we're moving towards focusing on domestic tourism. And in many ways, because of the lockdown, which really affected us greatly, the government, the Department of Tourism, has just said, okay, since international tourism basically has ground to a halt, they're saying, okay, let's just refocus again on domestic tourists. So,
right.
So to answer your question, not reliant. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. So one of the anomalies, I suppose you would say, within the Asia Pacific spa and wellness industry has been Philippines, because for a number of years there's been big discussions about the provision of home spa services in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. So given the focus on domestic tourism now, all right, day spa operators, is there competition between the day spa operators and the home spa operators? Is the day spa operator doomed in the Philippines and it'll be hotel spas and home spas, or how's it evolving?
Okay, let me tell you our story about how the COVID has affected. Well, we were hit by the lockdown starting March, and the Philippines has one of the longest and strictest lockdowns, and the spa industry has been very, very much affected. But even before that, because we have so many therapists, of course, in the Philippines, the home spas were definitely competing with hotel spas and day spas and all of that. Now, however, with COVID, one of the first things we did was we took into consideration the situation of the guests. We all know that there's a lot of fear, and because of very high transmissibility of the COVID variant, what the first thing we did as a group was we got together as spa and wellness stakeholders, and we came up with safety protocols, and that's what differentiates us from home spas. Right now, people are afraid. Home spas are down, day spas are down, because people are still very much afraid of COVID, and we all know that our industry is very high touch, right? So right now, to tell you frankly, the only sector which is perhaps surviving in this pandemic would be the resort, the out-of-town resort, because we have different types of lockdowns. So we have cities which are locked down, but the rest of the country isn't, and all of that. So one thing very clear is day spas are the ones which are very much affected. Home spas are pretty much non-existent right now because of the fear of transmissibility. But resort spas out of town, yes, there is a chance. Like in our case, Nurture, we're very good because we're out of town, and the farm, but only 2 resort spas are doing okay.
Okay, so that's interesting because I mean, the home spa thing is, as from my understanding, has been a major component of the industry for a long time. So, and it's always been like, how do we control it, right? So, you know, potentially it could be that COVID has killed off, so to speak, at least for the next period of time, the home spa sector, and therefore the industry should be more professional then, right? It'll increase the professionalism of the industry.
In many ways, you could say that's one of the things which help. But again, this is other factor as well, which would be you now have the rise of the wellness experience at home. So now the rich have their chosen therapist, and they continue to get the chosen therapist to do the treatments at home. But in general, people availing of massage, availing of spa treatments with people they don't know, that's not happening. So you are right, Andrew. In many ways, maybe COVID has been a blessing in disguise because it has, in many ways, killed the home spa. But yeah, it hasn't been good because so many people have lost their jobs. Period. I mean, a lot of the therapists just simply don't have jobs. They're now what we call module moms because again their children can't go are online, so they have to stop being therapists and they have to start being become what they call module moms. So in many ways the industry is really going through some sort of an upheaval, and that's why the session prior to this was very interesting because it's like, in fact, I think the industry has now to take a look at we have to take a look at ourselves and say, okay, where do we go? How do we stand? How do we recover from this major, in many ways, problem and challenge that we have encountered?
Okay. Yep. No, very valid point. Kun Susie, right? In terms of Thailand, how reliant upon international tourism is Thailand in terms of the local spa and wellness industry?
Yes, Andrew. I think the wellness industry in Thailand rely heavily on international tourists. I would say about 80%. And the effect of the pandemic has a strong seismic effect to the industry. It's really, I would say that if you look at the clock, I would say that Thailand is at 3 a.m. in the morning, which is the darkest, it's a loneliness, and it's a quiet stage, of the day. But it's lucky that our Prime Minister just announced that our country will be reopening on June 16, that he announced that we initiate Phuket Sandbox, which is, I can explain later on how we can cope and how we expect and how we rebuild, and reality, how we're going to go from this stage. Yes.
Right. So, I mean, you mentioned about Phuket, which is starting to reopen, right? And then obviously progressively the rest of the country. But do you see that the industry, what has the industry done to adapt to the changes that it's been forced upon it? Or has it adapted, or is it a case of we just close down and now we will open up when the customer comes back?
Well, the people, the stakeholders and staff in this industry, tourism plus wellness, well, they become aware that this scenario will take for a while. And we expect that, it won't recover until maybe 2022, I guess, maybe next year or end of next year. But when we start, to reopening Phuket, I think, this is a time that the industry must use this time in a new sense of new direction, and also getting the industry and the country back on her feet. Because Thailand is the longest and also have the greatest story in global tourism since 1987. And every time our countries can rebound quickly, but this time it's depth and also it's changed a lot. And the people in the industry They're still doing, the business. They're still maintaining temporarily closed, not much permanently closed. They're temporarily closed, and they do another job, like they're selling the online things. They cook the food from their home and also from the hotels. They deliver the food throughout the cities. This is what they adapt. Yes.
So
while waiting.
they've adapted to survive now, but as a business model, has there been any adaptation of the business model?
Well, yes, everyone in the industry of spa and wellness, they have the same thought, and I think other countries think the same. We would like, and we would like to see that we use the wellness industry as a tool in building our nation back to start economy. Because as you know, that Thailand is relying heavily on international tourists. However, we're thinking of also that we gear toward domestic spa wellness. We're serving people in the country, some expats still here in our countries, and also we have been thinking and plan our government, and even though the stakeholder in the country, thinking that we would rely on more of the wellness products and services, because wellness is the well-being products and services. And we hope that we can bring and we can create and we can build this place for a better world by sharing, the happiness. Really, this is the ideal, sharing the happiness, and also we should aim towards giving the sharing economy to the people at the destination, also visitors, also not just only any site. Yeah, that is what we planning.
Okay, I vote for Kun Susie to be the next Prime Minister of Thailand. She will save us all. So
thank you so much. I would love to.
So, okay, thank you, Kun Susie. Kun Windy, all right.
Yeah.
Moving to Taiwan. I mean, Taiwan has been basically devoid of most of the problems with the pandemic until just recently, and you've been hit with shutdowns and whatever. Same question to you to start off. How reliant on international tourism has the Taiwanese spa and wellness industry been in the past?
No, not in the past. Well, I think Taiwan, we had a really very blissful year. Last year, and until this May 15th, that we have the burst of this COVID, and now we are on the level 3, and that now it's a level 3 warning. Now we have no international tourists, and then we are not allowed to go out. So that now is the spa industry now is we would say very quiet.
Right. Okay, but normally you rely fairly heavily on, I mean, is it like 50% international, 50% local normally, or?
Usually we are not that heavily depending on the international. I would say about 50. Okay. 50 international, and then mostly in Taiwan, because in the past year, I think spa wellness industry having flourished very much in Taiwan. And as you know that we have held a very successful iSpa 204 in Taiwan. And then you can see our spa industry is really quite strong. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Taiwan is an amazing place. And I mean, your hot springs and everything are awesome. And obviously, in terms of a healthy lifestyle, you've already got that built in for many of the people. So, that's pretty awesome, right? As this has now hit, and the local industry is basically closed just at the moment, are operators doing anything, or is the government giving any direction or whatever in terms of plans to reopen? How
Well, until May 15, I mean, all the spa, wellness, I mean, the shops and the day spa, hotel spa, we were still doing very well. And now we don't know, because most of things now moving online. So that, I mean, restaurants are doing the online sales. And also, like, as you say, we are also selling online these home spa products, but the margin is not that good. So it's about 30% profit, or maybe less. So it is not easy. But I think with the government, because government has to take care of too many things, now we are lack of vaccine. So that is very difficult for us to really move on. So we are looking forward, if possibly maybe September or by the end of this year, that slowly open, then we can still do our spa business in certain way.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Wendy. Okay, Twee. Start the same question to start discussions here. How reliant upon international tourism is Vietnam in terms of the spa and wellness sector?
Yes, I would say very much so, because when we closed the borders last March, I mean, the government acted pretty quickly. Tourists stopped coming in since March of last year. And from my own observations, I just started seeing a steady flow of day spas closing in, like, the downtown touristy areas. I mean, if you're looking at the spa listings on TripAdvisor, I would guess that 90% of those spas are closed, because it's 18 months now, and they're relying mainly on tourists, and there are no tourists. And actually, I myself am a day spa owner. I had my spa right downtown in Ho Chi Minh City, and running for 10 years. And I too had to make that decision to close, because I mean, internally, the government has done a great job in maintaining in managing infections, but when you look at outside, neighboring countries and big markets like the US and Europe last year, when there were like peaks of outbreaks, there was just no optimism that the country would open to infected travelers. So myself, I had to make the decision to shut down.
But okay, go. Referencing back to what Kun Susie mentioned in terms of Thailand, where while there is a lot that have closed, the majority of them are temporarily closed, she believes. So like in your instance, you have closed permanently, or you are just temporarily closed?
You mean for myself?
Yes.
Well, I actually changed my business model. So I renovated the place and opened a plant-based cafe and a yoga studio to cater to the domestic markets, and that includes locals and expats. I mean, it's still under wellness, so it's not like huge departure, but this is the only way to survive. And I wanted to keep the space because it's such a special location. So it was just point in keeping the spa open when there was just no customers.
So, all right, that's what you have done, but other operators have basically closed up shop, is what you're saying? Then. Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of empty people returning their leases. I mean, you see for rent signs, and particularly in downtown, it's very noticeable and very depressing. Empty buildings for rent from spas that have closed up. So
no, I think that's one thing that we can probably say across most of the world, let alone most of the region, that there is significant properties available for rent for those who are prepared to try and venture out. It's actually interesting in Thailand, just next in central Bangkok, just near where my office used to be, because I've just relocated office. Next door to that, there was a new spa and salon that opened just 10 days ago, right? So there is some optimism out there. It's not a case of doom and gloom, right? it's a case of shifting markets, as like you've done, right? Shifting your business model to, you know, accommodate or target local customer rather than relying on the, you know, the cream of the crop, so to speak, of the big spending, high rolling international tourist, right? I mean, the stupid thing about all of this is that for all of us who focused on the international tourist, yes, they may spend more money when they're there for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, right? When they're in the country. But your local customer will come back if you treat them right, you know, every week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. So if you actually add it up, potentially your local customer may even be spending more than your international tourist. But we don't look at that as an industry. We don't look at it that way, right? It's all about, oh, you know, the international tourists, they can, you know, they will spend more. So it's interesting to see how it goes. And how do you see the future of the industry evolving in Vietnam then, Thuy?
For the future, we don't have any days of opening.
Crystal ball.
Well, there is like more interest locally in health and wellness now. You know, people want to stay healthy and, you know, try to not catch COVID, and so they're interested in a healthy lifestyle, eating well, and all that. So in one way, it's great because it's laying the foundation for more awareness about, you know, keeping well, and so I think with in the future, when, you know, new wellness resorts or hotels open, people would be more receptive to that, as opposed to having no awareness of it at all. So there is
So go on.
Yeah, I'm optimistic about the wellness for the future, for domestically.
Okay, I mean, that's pretty awesome that there is that positive outlook that is there, and with the change forced, some would say, a forced change of the consumer. I mean, we as an industry have long talked about, you know, from spa to wellness and how important wellness is, and wellness is growing. Like, we as an industry have talked about that, but where is the consumer? Because at the end of the day, they're the ones who are buying it. So I think the one positive that's come out of this whole experience thus far is very much, as you've said there, that the consumer has been forced to reevaluate the whole wellness sector and see how important health and wellness per se is in terms of their full-on living. Yeah.
Well, I mean, right now, as I've noticed with like Six Senses, they have, you know, their locations are pretty remote and they're wellness focused. And when we don't have these lockdowns and people are able to travel, those places are where people are going. They're going to places where it's wellness focused and it's not crowded, so it's low density of people and nature. So I've even read from, you know, the Vietnam Tourism Administration, even they are saying that is a trend that's going to continue to grow beyond this.
Phenomenal. Kathy, can I bring you in here on that? Because you're in a sort of an isolated location, all right?
Yep.
I mean, you're not in the city center. So,
No.
I mean, do you agree with what Thuy's been saying?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, in preparation for this forum, I contacted our different wellness stakeholders, and definitely these spas which are located in the city are very much challenged because, of course, they have to operate within the confines of rooms. However, if you are outside, like the way we are, then we are able to do outdoor treatments, and that certainly is much more that gives the guest a lot more peace of mind. I'd like to say, however, that it's very important because people now want to say, okay, spas are suffering, now let's move to wellness. I'd like to share the fact that this is not something that can happen overnight, because in our resort, we actually moved into wellness several years ago. And from being a destination spa, we moved towards doing wellness treatments together with a doctor, nutritionist, dietitian, and all of that. And I'd like to share that we have to make sure that it's done properly. That's why the previous talk prior to us was important, because with spa, you have, of course, massage, and of course, you have to do all of the, you have to make sure that it's done well. You know, you do all of the necessary precautions. However, when it comes to wellness, I realized this when we started bringing wellness patients in. You start talking about diabetes, high blood pressure, you start talking about early stage cancer, and now you're talking about life and death. So I think, I remember one of the tenets of the spa is don't try to be something that you're not. As a therapist, don't try to become a doctor, right? I remember that was taught to us from the very beginning. So I think, Andrew, from the point of the industry, yes, many people will want to go into wellness, but make sure that it's done properly, step by step, like the way Tri is doing now. She's doing plant-based and she's doing yoga. Those are good ways to venture into it, but be very careful about. But be very careful also, like for example, yoga, there are pre-existing conditions which people should be very careful about. I guess I'm saying, do it with caution, do it properly, do it professionally, so that the industry will not suffer. Because remember, one of the challenges we had as an industry before was everybody wanted to get into spa. So you had all sorts of people just doing spa, you know, rub on, rub off, you know, whatever kind of oils they were using, they didn't really care. And that was a problem. And that's why Asia Pacific Spa and Wellness Coalition said, okay, guys, let's professionalize our industry. And I think that's a challenge now, because I'm sure many people will say, okay, let me jump into wellness. But I'm saying it's not that easy. It has to be done well, because now you're talking about life and death. And now that with COVID particularly, it has to be done with so much care, because just to share, sometimes, you know, everybody's talking about COVID right now, but there's so many lifestyle sicknesses which are probably even a bigger problem than COVID. In fact, a bigger problem because people are locked down. So you have obesity, you have diabetes, you have cancer and all of this, right? So yeah, so if we were to look at it as an industry, Andrew, I think the session prior to this was very good, because it talked about moving from spa and pampering into wellness, right? And you had doctors talking there, and you had some establishments which were introducing a lot of technology, a lot of equipment as well. So I think, Andrew, in the same way you handheld the region in terms of professionalizing the industry, I think that will be the challenge again for the industry. It's like, let's do it right, and here we are. This is how you do it now. Yeah.
I mean, I'm totally on board with what you're saying, and if anybody else wants to jump in here, please do. But the spa and wellness industry, in terms of the medical world, right? The medical world is the curative world.
Right.
Spa is, or spa and wellness, as far as we're concerned, we're in the prevention mode, right? So if people come to us with medical issues, right? Yes, there are some medical spas, or, you know, for destination spas that maybe have got doctors on board that can help them. But generally speaking, as an industry, that's not our forte, right? That's not what we do. We do prevention, and that's what we have to focus on. And we have to realize that we're about promoting general health, right? And being healthy, living a healthy lifestyle, right? Rather than curing. Yeah?
Definitely.
Definitely. I totally agree with you. Yeah, I totally agree with you. But when you move into the realm of preventive, there comes also the aspect of that's preventive medicine. And then you go beyond now spa. You spa treatments, because you now move in many ways to prevention and diagnostics as well. So it's like it becomes a lot more complicated. That's just my opinion. That's from my experience.
I mean, I think it's what you're saying is important here, that we don't overreach, right?
Exactly.
Right. We do what we do well, and let's just focus on that. And the spa and wellness industry is not the be all and end all for health and well-being, right? We are one of the tools.
Then should we change our terminologies then so that we can reach a wider audience? Because SPA, the Global Spa and Wellness Institute changed to Global Wellness Institute, right? Because SPA cares with it a lot of biases, perceptions, etc., etc. So maybe that's a conversation that the industry should have.
I was going to say we're moving into a more philosophical viewpoint here that I would love to continue with, and if you want to join in the lounges after this, happy to continue with it. But just bringing it bringing it back on track in terms of reopening of business, right? Kunsuzi, can I throw it back to you about, as being talked about here, as to the adjustments that are being made and what things are being done to move the industry forward in these challenging times?
Yes, Andrew. I think that I think this situation is really challenging, and if all of us have ever seen, the movie Outbreak, okay, it's talking about pandemic, and if you remember that 100 years ago that we have Spanish flu, and I'm looking, and also I have the thought that the post-pandemic boom is coming, but it may take for a while. However, the prevention and also wellness is so important for human beings. And I know that these kind of services would be like the top 10 kind of products and services that people would like to have. And in terms of the adoption or adaptation, to this business, I think we need to do the hybrid models. I understood, that wellness is a high touch. You have to give the treatment, to the clients. However, we can do the spa seminar online. We can do doctor online. That kind of things, can add it, and also can be one of the models, for the wellness. And I also think that our countries, as Thailand, when I'm talking about Thailand, once again, I just would like, to add into that we have the longest, and also we have the greatest history, of wellness and tourism. And I still think that Thailand is a very good place, combining wellness into a longevity program, because longevity can give services, to a lot of people. Work from Thailand. When I read, the report from McKinsey report, they already, have the survey that 100 CEO, out of 100 CEO, 62 of them would like to travel. They don't want to stay at home. When border open, when thing is available, they would like, to travel. And the pandemic, COVID, had teach us that we're familiar on the online, work from home, work from anywhere. So I think, the resource and also hotels industry can give them the facilitators, can have the wellness services in their hotels. We can call hospitals, whatever, hotels, combining, with the services of wellness. And I think, that it would bring back and browse back, of the demand. And I just would like, to add a little more, about the Phuket Sandbox, if you allow, Andrew.
Yes, please.
Yes, Phuket Sandbox has been initiated, by our countries and the entrepreneurs, stakeholders in Phuket, very strong. I following them, and also I see that they're so strong. They have a high intention to reopen the country, and also they have been vaccinated. End of this month, second dose of vaccine will be given to them, and also 70% they will have the immune system. So this is mean by July the 1st, we open only the island. Even though today we have like 3,000 infected around Thailand, majority is in Bangkok, but Phuket only have 4 infected cases. And we will allow foreigner visitor to come to the island without quarantine. They can stay 14 days. They can go anywhere on the island, okay? 14 days without.
Okay. Okay, so basically, Susie is frozen.
Yes.
Okay, Susie, yes? Okay, you just froze for a moment, right? So
Okay.
for 14 days, they can stay on they're quarantining on the island. They're not quarantining in a hotel or a resort or anything. They can still travel around and go shopping and go to the beach and.
Yes, that is the idea. After 14 days, they can go to another provincial destination that can be Krabi, can be Chiang Mai, can be Pattaya, can be the like the famous destination in Thailand after 14 days to make sure that they are fine and they are safe, and also our people are safe also in Phuket. Then they can allow to go out to other cities, which if everything go on plan, October 1st, we would see Thailand in a certain city that open and will be the seal route to such a certain destination. And I would encourage everyone, Philippines, Vietnam, and also Taiwan, maybe to think and rebound back, rebuild, reconstruct, and also hope that the post-pandemic boom will come back. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Susie. Just to be clear, this conference is not sponsored by the Tourism Authority of Thailand. Okay. But, right. I mean, you're a great ambassador, Susie. I mean, I think you speak very eloquently. All right. Wendy, we've got a few minutes. Then there's one last question I would like to ask all of you. But yeah, Wendy, any input from your perspective there as to how you see the industry in Taiwan potentially evolving as things reopen?
Yes, because I think that today we are very excited because we have only less than 100 the COVID victims. So we hope that the level 3 can be released by the end of June. Then our spa business can operate in a certain way. But in over Taiwan, we have a spa, we have a nice hot spring resort. Now are really hoping to have the release of this COVID warning. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. All right. I think who was it? Kathy, I think you mentioned about 6 senses, right? All for each of you in your own countries, is there an operator that you think is stand out in your country who has dealt with this or is dealing with the aftermath of COVID in terms of reopening or planning for reopening? Somebody that, you know, is sort of a standout operator as far as you're concerned? Wendy, you're there. Is there somebody
in Taiwan? Yeah.
In Taiwan, yeah.
Okay, a very nice example. I was actually having a COVID retreat in Orlando, Ulai, and it is a 5-star boutique hotel with a very nice spa facility. Even without, I was the only guest. Even without audience, all the staff, they are trained, the called life reacher, because they are trained to say the spa, the life, the reacher. So I think that now the pandemic is now though, but into the future, just as Kathy also say, I mean, it is not only this COVID, we have so many diseases all over the world. So that, I mean, this Volanda make a very, very great case, say that even without any audience, any guest, everything operation will be in normal because they are always there ready for reopen.
Okay, fantastic. Right.
Yeah.
Kun Susie, right? Is
Yes.
there a standout property in Thailand as far as you're concerned?
Yes, the many properties still open for domestic people. And as you know that Thai people always travel. They, they creep, to go to Taiwan, to Vietnam, to Australia. But I know that Australia is not open yet for Thai because we are in the yellow list.
Australia is not open for Australians, don't worry.
Right. There's a lot of outstanding spa and wellness parlors that's still open, and also the resorts also. I see many hotels, which is the boutique hotels, that just now develop, the place that they would kill, for the food. Like, for example, that they have the storytelling that from the food, the herbal food, from farm to the tables. And a lot of people, I think they're depressed because of the lockdown, even though our government did not have to promulgate the law that you cannot go out. But Thai people, we so scared, we wear the mask, we follow the instructions.
I think you're cautious. I wouldn't say scared, I would say cautious.
No, we scared. In Thailand.
Okay, I don't vote for you as Prime Minister for Thailand anymore.
Okay. It's the truth. I am too, but very precautious, as you say. But as I said that, I think every country still have a chance, and every people in wellness and spa business industry still having a very big hope, because well-being is the most important. Healthy is wealthy. That is the key.
Okay, thank you, Kun Susie. Okay, Thuy and Kathy, we've got literally 90 seconds, so I give you 45 seconds each. So Thuy, if you want to go first, is there an operator or a company in Vietnam that's coped with this really well and is reopening, and you'd like to give them a shout out?
Well, I would say because Six Senses, because they have the foresight to have the concept that they have, with the wellness and with nature and with organic food, all that, they position themselves well. So they have people interested in their services now, and even more so when this is over. So I would say yes. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. All right, yep. Kathy, you get the final words as the lights going out in the Philippines.
I think the farm at San Benito actually did very well because, from the very beginning, they did position themselves as a spa. They positioned themselves as a medical wellness destination. And very importantly, they got their license to operate as a medical spa. So as a result, they were open even during the toughest lockdown. So and of course, their message always was well-being, being healthy, etc., etc. So they were not at all affected by COVID.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, ladies. I'd love to continue this conversation. And in fact, we will all move, well, hopefully, we will all move to the lounge now. And anybody who's listening, if they would like to join us in the lounge to ask any questions and continue this conversation. But thank you very much to the organizers, to Professional Beauty, to Mark and his team. There in London, and on behalf of the Asia Pacific Spa and Wellness Coalition, a massive thank you to everybody involved.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.